Hi, I'm Herb Redrick, the senior pastor here at First Missionary Baptist Church. Why do I have cross eyes? Because that's the series we're in right now. The purpose is that we want you to learn how to see everything just like Jesus saw it in your home, in your work, in the community. How did Jesus see things? So join us as we go through cross eyes all year long. Again, my name is Herb Redrick. Come on in and join us, and we pray you enjoy the message.
Amen. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. We have to remind ourselves of that. Oftentimes, as you continue to look at the news and you look at TV, it can sometimes look as though the gates of hell are prevailing. Let's just be real about it. Sometimes you don't even have to cut on the TV. You can just only look in your own lives and look at your own circumstances and look at everything that you're dealing with day in and day out. And sometimes you wonder if he is still on the throne. But every now and then you just have to remind yourself that Jesus is Lord. He's Lord over everything that's going on in each and every one of your lives. You don't have to worry because God is still on the throne, and you can just praise him because he is worthy to be praised. Because he is Alpha and he's Omega. He's the beginning and he's the end. And you can just say to him that he is worthy, that he is Lord. He is Lord of all of your circumstances. And you can praise him because he is worthy. Hey! Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That ought to be peace for somebody today. I don't know who that message is for, but it ought to be for somebody in here. Because somebody in here is struggling with something today, and you just need to know where can you get an answer for your situation and your circumstances. It's okay. As we continue seeing the world through cross eyes, it can become difficult sometimes because we're not always looking at the world through cross eyes. And on last week, we stood here and we learned that the answer to all the world's problems is love. But shortly after worship, we see that love was being attacked in two different locations, and people running rapid and killing and senseless killing. And I know many of your faith was shaken, and it sounded good in here, but when you went out those doors, it seemed difficult to live out. So if you've got an answer, then you need to know how to apply that answer. You need to know what action steps need to be taken. If love is the answer, and we said that love is a verb, it's an action word, how do we put love into action? And as I keep looking and listening, and I know you hear all the political rhetoric on both sides of the aisles, and even those future, those who believe they can hold the office, and they all are sprouting what they believe the answer is, and they're looking in all the wrong places. Have you ever looked in the wrong places for the right answers? Come on, am I the only one that ever has looked in the wrong place for the right answer? And as you're looking all over in the wrong place, sometimes sometimes we just need to settle down and look. And as I told you all on last week, while I was away on sabbatical, and I knew that I would be coming back and that our series was going to be seeing the world through cross eyes, I asked God just a simple question. Lord, what's the answer to all the world's problems, and how should we solve them? And I just get baffled at him and amazed at him, because he'll bring me back to something that we're all familiar with, and you think he's going to give me this new revelation. And he said, go back and read something you've read for years over and over. And last week we read that we're to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul, and our neighbor as ourselves, and that all the laws and commandments hung on that. And that, and many of us know that. Many of us know the answer is love. And so I said, okay, God, I got that. So now show me what the action is. How do we put that into action? And sure enough, he took me back to a very familiar passage. And many of you may know it, some of you may not, but we're going to look at it. And I want you to open your Bibles, if you would. And if you got your electronic devices, pull out your electronic devices, whether it's your tablet or your phone or your computer or whatever you got, and go to Matthew. Matthew. And we're going to look at the 28th chapter. And while you're finding that, I do want to remind all of our men, whether you came to our Man Up event on the weekend of Father's Day or not, we're inviting you. Put this on your calendar. Go ahead, since you got your phones out, and put it on your calendar for Wednesday, August the 21st, for our Man Up follow-up. All right, we're going to have a Man Up follow-up. And so come on out. You can come straight from work. We'll have a bone or something for you to suck on or something. If you get here late, that's probably what it's going to be. But if you get here early, we'll have a little something for you to chew on. So just come on out and put that on your calendar. And now this is the last service for our summer schedule. So can I preach a little longer today? Can I really? Yeah, all right. So that I can get an hour and a half in today? Okay. Now you're laughing at me now, huh? Okay. All right, but remember now, we're doing something a little new next week. We got a couple of new service times, and I just want to share those with you. Now, the 9:30 service is going to start at 9:30. So what time is the 9:30 service going to start? Okay, y'all got that one really good. All right, but our second service, we're going to slide it down 15 minutes, and it's going to start at 11:30. Say 11:30. 11:30. And some of you may wonder why we're doing that. And let me just tell you why. Because it takes many volunteers and servant leaders to help us put a service together. And we want to give you enough time to be able to wander out and talk to one another, and then for them to have plenty enough time to set up, and so they're not running so ragged. And I know y'all see them flying around here zipping because they're getting ready for the next service. So please be patient with us as we make this new adjustment. And we're going to do 9:30 and 11:30. And then we're moving communion to 1 o'clock. We're going to do a praise and worship service. And so communion will be at 1 o'clock on the first Sundays. Now, not next Sunday, but on the first Sunday. So you'll be seeing more on that as we do that. All right. So what time our new service is? At 9:30 and... Okay. So what time does the 9:30 service start? What time does the 11:30 service start? Boy, y'all are a bright crowd. I really like y'all. I see that it's going to be easy to teach y'all today. All right. So have you found that in your text there? Now, we've been focusing on one passage that's been undergirding us all year long. And so I want you to go ahead on, and if you stand on your feet as we read our memory passage, and you should have it memorized. It also should be in your bulletin. But I want us to stand on our feet as we read Romans 12, 1 and 2. All right, we're going to read, it should be in your bulletins on the very front there, I believe, if you don't know it by heart, but you should know it by heart by now, but if you don't, it's okay. All right, Romans 12, 1 and 2. And there we find these words. Now, I think we all got the first couple of words together, right? What's the first word? Therefore. What's the second word? I urge you. All right, y'all on the roll. Okay, let's go. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercies, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Be not conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's good and pleasing will, perfect will. Amen. You may be seated in the presence of God. So last week we came from the book of Matthew, and we looked at what we call the Great Commandment. And the Great Commandment is for us to love. And love is the answer to all of our problems. And I showed you a little bit of that on last week. But now we've got to put that love into action. And so now we need to look at the action step on how do we apply that love to the world's problem. And what I want you to do, I want you to look at Matthew, the 28th chapter. And if you go to the very last two verses there, and I'll come from the NIV. And listen to what it says. Then Jesus came to them and said, therefore, no, he says, all power under all authority in heaven and on earth, isn't that what it says, has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded, and surely I am with you to the very end of the age. I want to give you the secret sauce. I had to add that on there, the secret sauce to solving the world's problem. Where are all my cooks in here? Raise your hand. How many? Where are my pretend cooks? Those who think you can cook. Okay, you got a bunch of those. Okay, all right. All right. Where are my grill masters? Where are my grill masters? What? Raise your hand again. Let them grill masters. Okay. All right. So now, if you're a grill master, that means you got a secret sauce, right? You can't be a grill master unless you got a secret sauce. Is that correct? And your secret sauce is what makes your food taste so much better than it. Look. She just waving her head. It's that secret sauce. And everybody wants some of your secret sauce, right? When they come for your meal. Well, here's Jesus' secret sauce to solving all the world's problems. Now, notice what it says here. It says, then Jesus came to them and said, meaning this Jesus right now is getting ready to lead them. He has been raised from the dead. He has spent 40 days and 40 nights with him. He's been seen by at least 500 people or more. And now they're ready. They're not ready, but Jesus is about to depart, and he's given them and us our marching orders. Notice now, he says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Now, I want us to back into this passage here because oftentimes we just run to all authority, that Jesus got all authority in heaven and on earth. The first thing I want to look at is, where did he get his authority from? Was it legitimate authority? See, Satan has some authority, but it's illegitimate. He stole it, did he not? He stole his authority from us. Is that not correct? Because God gave us dominion over heaven and earth. And as long as we obey God, we would have never died. Are y'all walking with me that far? But the minute he caused us to follow his temptation, he stole something from us, and he was now the king over death, hell, and the grave. Are y'all walking with me that far? And so Jesus is saying that his authority was given to him, meaning that he did not steal his authority, that his authority was given to him. Now the question would be, well, who gave it to him? He doesn't say in this passage who gave it to him, but the people he was talking to, they were a predominantly Jewish audience. And he says, look, all authority where? In heaven and on earth. The Jews totally understood what he was saying, because God is the only one that has all authority where? In heaven and on earth. And so when he says that he has all of this, but it was given to him, they understood that he was saying that God has given me all authority in heaven and on earth. Are y'all walking with me here? This is deep now. This is deep. Now, I want to go deep, but I don't want to lose anybody. All right, so if you get lost, you say, wave your hand, and then that means you need to see me after class. We don't have time for Q&A today. All right. Now hunch your neighbor, say, don't go to sleep. You don't want to miss this. Yeah, I know some of y'all already. The mention of his name. All right, stay with me, stay with me. All right, so now look, listen, watch this now. All right, so he says now he has all authority. So the first thing we see is that he has legitimate authority, right? He has legitimate authority. But now there's a word that I want you to look at. And sometimes when we're looking at scripture, we're trying to figure out these big and fancy words, and we get all wrapped up in them. But I want you to just go and look and find every word of all, or any cognate, or any form, or any version of the word all in that passage. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to just look at it. Just read it. It's not real hard to find most of it. He says, all authority, right? You see that, right? Has been given to me, right? And then he has another part, go and make disciples of all nations. You see that right there, right? Just look at it. Just look at it. How many versions of all? I think he says, and command, obey every command, everything, right? So that's a form of all, right? Everything, right? And then he says, I will be with you always. You see that? I've read this passage for years, and I believe that was all the alls that was in there. But see, this is why I really have to get away, because God can just blow your mind and show you something. And I had to just get up and walk around when I started seeing all of these words of all in different forms. Because now what does the definition, now watch this, what does the definition of all mean? You can't use the word to define a word. You can't say all means all, right? You can't in that English 101, you cannot use a word to define the word. But so come on, let's talk to me now. What does the word all mean? Come on, baby. It encompasses what? Everything, right? Right, there you go. So what does all mean? It encompasses everything, right? Either in a group or anything. So when something encompasses everything, it encompasses what? Everything. Yeah, see, y'all look, don't make it so hard. Sometimes we try to make the text so hard, right? So now watch this. He says he has what? All authority. Now, we first backed into it and said that the authority was what? Legitimate. Okay, so now we need to now look at what does the word authority mean. Most of us know what that means, don't we? That means someone who has the power and permission to govern, right? And to what? To decide and to act. That's what authority means, right? It's the person has the authority. Now, you can't use the word to define the word, Herbie. I just told you that. All right. It gives you permission. It gives you permission and power to govern, right? To decide and to act. So now, watch this. Just put all of this together. God gave him what kind of authority? All. Now, in the Greek, when you put a word with all and put it together with authority, it raises it up to mean supreme. So what he's saying here, watch this now. He's saying that God gave him supreme authority. What does that make him? God. Because only what? God has supreme authority. So Jesus is telling them that I am God in the flesh because I've got all the authority that God has. Now, I hear somebody in here thinking, well, when he was born, wasn't he already God? And when he came, didn't he already have all authority in heaven and on earth? I hear you thinking that. But watch this. Prior to his being born, he had all authority in heaven and on earth. But watch this now. The minute Jesus took on human flesh, he became subject to death. Are y'all walking with me here? All right, write this verse down. Now, we don't have time. I told you I'm gonna take my hour today because next week I got to do it in 20. I got to do it in 20 minutes. But walk with it. Are y'all still with me? Have I lost anybody yet? All right, so watch this now. Write down Matthew 4, 8, and 9. Now, I'm just going to tell you about it. We don't have time to go there. But in Matthew 4, 8, and 9, Jesus was being tempted by Satan. And Satan wanted Jesus to bow down and worship him. And if Jesus would have done that, then Jesus would have sinned because only worship belongs to God. And if he would have sinned, then he would have died in the flesh and he would have never been able to get up from the grave. You see, what causes Jesus to be able to get up from the grave is that he had never sinned. And if we never sin, you can never die. Did anybody get it? All right, I'll just preach to myself then, because I'm getting excited about this. Because now he's saying here that he has all of this authority. Now because what? He has defeated death, hell, and the grave. Oh boy, this is good. You see, and he's saying now that he has all authority. Now. Yeah, write down another one. Write down Matthew 22. 21, I believe it is. And there's a little small passage in there, and we say this sort of flippantly: render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and unto God what is God. Don't you've heard people say that, right? Yeah, but this is an awesome statement. See, if he's got all authority, what he is saying is, well, let me just ask. There's some of you in here with authority. Watch this. There's someone in here who's a supervisor on their job. Raise your hand. Go ahead. We want to know who you are, so we mad at y'all. Go ahead, raise them up. So you got folks who get mad at you because you're in a position of what? Authority. Yeah, but your authority is limited to your job. Now, there's some of you who have authority in your homes. Raise your hands, women. Come on, brothers. Y'all was supposed to raise your hand really high. And they didn't even hesitate. They just went like this, and I saw the brother go like, She the one. All right. Now watch this. Every one of us in here has authority. Raise your hand. You have authority over you. Okay? You have authority over you. Now, but you don't, because he just said he has. Oh, suck it now. Can I say that? That's okay. All right. Do you see that? See, he says he has all. So who's included in that all? Each and every one of us. We don't even have authority. Ooh, this is getting good. This is getting gooder and gooder. That's bad grammar, but that's good theology. All right, now, are y'all walking with me here? Notice now, he says he's got all authority. Now, I told you to look for other forms of all, right? And we counted 4 of them, didn't we? I'm going to show you a 5th one. Look where he says he has all of that authority. In heaven and earth. What's exempt? No, so that's a what? An all word. Yeah, did you see that? That just blew my mind. All these years I've read that and I understood it, but that encompasses everything, everywhere. That means demons and angels. That means people and places. That means things and disease. That means anything that's going on in your life, he has authority over it. See, can't you just get excited about the word all? Just get excited about he's got authority over what? All. What are you going through right now? He's got authority over whatever all of your circumstances, all of your problems, all of your situations. He's got authority over it all. Just let that resonate just a little bit. Because some of you are dealing with some stuff. Some of you are dealing with some people. Don't look to the left or to the right. Look behind you at least. You know. Is this making sense? And sometimes we get all wrapped up in those situations and circumstances that we try to start fixing them, but we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers in dark places. And so sometimes we got to understand, it's not my problem, you see. If I'm in his will, if I'm thinking like he's thinking, then he can handle all of my circumstances, either on this side or the other side, because he's got all authority in heaven and on earth. You see, so no matter how things turn out, he's gonna be there. I gotta slow down. I gotta slow down. I gotta slow down. I'm excited, y'all. I'm telling you, really, y'all, this just blew my mind, because you can get depressed as you look at all the things that are going on in the world. But here's the secret sauce. You gotta have this. Now, I just showed you one of the alls, right? So now let me give you your first cross-eyed perspective here, all right? Because first let me just give you the long version of it, all right? So here's what Jesus is saying here. Jesus is saying that he has supreme, legitimate authority to govern. No, let me do it this way. Let me go. He has supreme, legitimate power and permission to govern and to act over anything in heaven and on earth. Now that's the long version. Let me give you the cross-eyed version. What's due God is due Jesus. You see that? What's due God is due Jesus. That, if you can just remember that. Whatever you think is due God is due Jesus. I could really blow your mind if I had another hour and a half. I really could. There's another little piece. I might get to it, just depending on if I don't see you sleeping too hard on me. But walk with me a little bit further here, farther. Let's now walk with me. Look what he says next. Now, he says, therefore. What is he saying? Therefore, that means therefore. Since I've got all of this authority and power, now I'm gonna give you a suggestion. Look what he suggests. Nothing. He's getting ready to give a command. Jesus doesn't suggest anything. He says, go. That word is an imperative. That word is a command. That word, and if he's got all authority and all power, he's telling us you don't have a choice. If you're one of my disciples, you got to obey what I say. So he says, go. Now, most of the time when we hear go and make disciples of all nations, most of us think of all of this overseas missions. I'm going on a mission trip. How many of you want to go on a mission trip? There's a few of you in here who want to go on a mission trip. Yeah, most of you. Okay, you want to go on a mission trip. Then go home. Mission starts at home. You're looking for folks all over the world. I got to go tell the gospel to some folks all over the world. Go home and tell somebody the gospel. See, again, we take words and we try to read more into them than we mean. But watch this. This word here is your next all-inclusive word. This word go. And watch how it blows my mind. Because it is in the form of something that's continuously happening. That means it always ought to be happening. That means you are always supposed to be going and making disciples. Well, where are you supposed to go and make them? You're supposed to go and make them at home. You're supposed to go and make them at work. You're supposed to go and make them in your community. Everywhere you go, you are supposed to be making disciples. And so in your going, this is how, if you were to read it in a Greek language, it's saying in your going, meaning in your everyday habit, in everything you do. So stop saying you got to go to church and start being the church. You see, if we're being the church, that means everywhere you go, someone knows that you're a child of the Most High God. If folks are still confused about what you believe, then am I making any sense? See, now I'm getting to solving the world's problem, but I got to give you the base here, because we know that we got to do it with love. So now we got to know where we get our marching orders from. He says, in your going. So this means in everything you do. Can I just talk plain? Many of us are confusing folks in our going, because we tell them who we are, but they don't see who we are. Never once should you have to tell someone you're a Christian. You shouldn't have to tell them that. They should say, are you one? They call you other things. You don't have to tell them you're that. Well. Am I making sense? So he's saying here that there's this word going. He says go and make. This word make means turn into something. He says go and make disciples. I'm gonna get to it. I just gotta walk through this. Now notice how he says it now. That so you go is another one of those all words, because you never start being who you are. Do you ever leave yourself at home? I've tried. But every time I get there, I'm already there. You know, so in your going, that's an all-inclusive word. You're never not going somewhere. You're never not being somewhere. You see how words just exploding? Had you ever seen that? Y'all probably saw it. Oh, you say, "My pastor's so dumb. We knew that." Y'all knew that already? Okay, good. Whew. I thought I was just late to the party. Okay. Notice another one of these words. He says, Go and make disciples. Then he says now, this word disciple, that means a learner, a follower, all right? And this is a very Jewish word because all of what they learn by following someone. It wasn't always in a classroom. They would do a little teaching and they'll do a little doing. They'll do a little teaching, they'll do a little doing. They learn most of what they learn through apprenticeship, through following and through behavior. And so your behavior becomes what he's talking about learning. And this word, let me slow down. I'm getting ahead of myself. So he says now, make disciples. Now notice what he says to do first, baptizing them. Now, I told you that the word go was another one of those all words, right? Because in your going, all right? So how many alls are we up to now? 5, right? I believe. All right, so now watch this word, baptize. Now, here's another word that just blew my mind. I know the definition of it, and I've known for years what it meant, but I never looked at it in an all-inclusive context, because in the Greek, when you baptize something, you submerge it all in whatever you baptize it in. So when, like Lydia, she made cloth. Many of you might have heard of her. Anybody named Lydia in here? Okay, so she's not here today. All right. But in her cloth making, Lydia would baptize the material, in meaning that she wanted to change it from white to purple, she had to put it into a purple dye. And so when she put it in the purple dye, whatever it went into, it came out all different. Y'all got that there? So now watch this now. He says, so now baptizing them in the name. Notice now he only used the singular, and he uses 3 persons to call in the singular. He says baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Now you got all, there you go again, of the Trinity right there. You see that? It's all right there, right? He's got all of the Godhead right there together, and he says in the name. Now the word name just doesn't mean like what your name is. It means your character and your nature. He's saying now that we're to baptize people. He's not just talking about water. He's talking about baptizing them in the understanding of the nature and the character of who God is. So when that person starts walking and starts becoming, he starts looking like who God is. I told you that it just blows my mind. I just sit there. I could go on and on and on, but I got to keep moving. I know I see some of you nodding. I see some of you going with, but walk with me a little bit farther here. So he says, now, after you baptize them in that name, in God's character and in God's nature, he's saying, now, teaching them. Now, we understand teaching somewhat, but notice how he says that, teaching them to obey. How do you teach somebody to obey? You usually tell somebody to obey. How do you teach them to obey? That's exactly what I thought when I looked at it. But after I did a little further study and went down a little deeper, as I'm going to take you, that word teaching means to transfer or to transform that person from one behavior to another behavior. And so what he's saying is that he's not wanting us to get information. He wants us to get transformation. And so too many of us have got a lot of biblical information, but very little biblical transformation. But he's saying if you're being taught, then you're going to start obeying what you have seen there, because now you're becoming like the one whose character and nature you have been baptized in. Is that not good stuff? All right. Wow. I'm trying to get to it. But watch this now. So he tells us, let me give you a second cross-eyed perspective. Or let me just say this. This is very powerful. Don't miss this one here. When he says go and make disciples, now we're talking about solving all the world's problems, right? If you're not making disciples and you're not becoming a disciple, you are a guilty bystander to all the problems in the world. My mama used to say it this way: you're either part of the problem. See, you already know the answers. There's no middle ground. So ask yourself, are you part of the world's problems, or are you part of the world's solutions? Now, if you're trying to solve the problems the world's way, you're part of the problem. If you're trying to solve them God's way, you're part of the solution. Walk with them. I'm going to show you just how it all plays out. I know you're looking at me all foreign, like, yeah, that sounds good in church, but I'm going to show you how it's going to work out on the street when we leave here. Just with what we got here in the room. I'm going to show you what we right here in the room. If nobody else came into this room, I'm going to show you what we right here in this room can do and how we right here in this room can change the whole world just right here in this room. Don't let nobody else come in. We got enough to do what we need to do right here in this room. And I'm going to show it to you. All right? But let me just show you a second cross-eye perspective here. How you live is how you lead. If your children are jacked up, it might be because you jacked up. Right? Your household like this? You seeing out of cross eyes on Sunday? The rest of the world you seeing like this. This is how you see Monday through Thursday, through Friday, through Saturday. Then you come in here on Sunday, try to look at me like this. But I still see that other eye out. Yeah, that's how most of y'all are living, like this right here, this right here. That's how I'm going to stay the rest of the service. Yeah. That's how you're living. How you live is how you lead. That's what that passage is talking about. In our making it, can I just talk plain? Everybody is a disciple of somebody or something. Don't think that that's a biblical word. It means a follower, a learner. Everybody is following and learning something from you, and you're following and learning something from somebody, and you're becoming what you're becoming from whom you're following. Did that sink in? That's good? All right. What, I got another 55 minutes? That's just a warm-up. I just warmed up. All right, walk with me. This is the last little part here, I believe. All right, so he says, teaching them to obey a few things. Say ouch. Because many of us, we tear pages out the Bible. We don't want to obey it all. We use excuses. We explain it away. Well, that was in the Old Testament. We don't have to do that now. Well, it doesn't say we need to do that now. The Bible's outdated. But the last time I heard that God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, I also heard that his word would not return void, that whatever God has said, that it will come to pass. And so his word is always present. His word is always new. It's new every day, every month. So we got to stop trying to bend the word to our lifestyle and bend our lifestyle. See, you're only saying amen because you think I'm on your neighbor's street. Get on your street, you'll say ouch. All right, let's go a little bit further. And he says, and I will be with you when I get time. What? Do you see that right there? That's your deliverance word right there. He says, I will be with you. Then he gives you a guarantee. Surely. Oh, that's a guarantee word right there. He's saying there's nothing. No angels, no demons, no things, no powers, no principalities. There's nothing that can separate you from the love that is in Christ Jesus. No matter how high the mountain is, no matter how low the valley is, no death, no disease, no disaster, no diagnosis, he's going to always be with you. No sickness, no sorrow, no suffering, no success. He's going to always be with you. No trial, no tribulation, no politician. Watch this right. I've been wanting to get to this part right here because I know some of you are worried about, where are my card players? I got some card players. We got guests. Now, some of y'all, how many of you know how to play? It's okay now. It's okay. Just as long as you don't do it, I don't see you in church playing. Now that's a no-no. They can't play it in church, but it's okay. Look in the Bible. I want you to find all the passages where it says we can't play cards. And go to a party. Because this here is a party. We're celebrating Jesus. Some of you got some problems, you see. But here's the thing. He says he's going to be with you always. Isn't that what he told you? But then when we went to the earlier part, it says he's got all power and all authority. Isn't that what he says? So watch this here. How many of you know how to play poker? Don't be afraid. Uh-huh. I know, because y'all play every Sunday. All right. Where my spade players? All right, where my pinochle players? All right, where my bid whist players? Hey, I need to see all of y'all. I like a 5-note trump. Hey, I like a 6-note trump. Hey. See, when you got a no trump, you got a God who's got all power, all authority, over all circumstances, over all situations. Everything that you need, he's got the power over it. He can take it in. He can take it out. Why? Because he's got all power and all authority in heaven and on earth. Why? Because he says, I'll be with you always, even till the end of the age. And that's the kind of God that I serve, that I don't have to worry about who's in the courthouse. I don't have to worry about who's in the mayor's house. I don't even have to worry about who's in the White House. Why? Because God trumps Trump. Hey. Listen to me. He trumps all the political officials. Write this one down. Read Romans 13, verses 1 through 2. All authority comes from God. I don't care who's in the White House. I don't care who's in the governor's mansion. I don't care who's in the sheriff's house. I don't care who's on the police force. It does not matter. God is still God. He is Lord over everything and over everybody and over everything. So let me give you a last cross-eyed perspective here. Don't lose my card now. I want all of them back. Because I got a game one day this week. Listen to this. Jesus will always be with us, right? We are never without his power and his presence. That ought to be good news. We're never without his power and his presence. What are you going through? There's no need to get down and depressed. You don't even need to try to act like you got it all together. You need to be able to come in and say, I don't have it together. I'm here just like you to get it together. Because only God has all power and all authority. Are y'all walking with me here? Yeah. And so, I told you we can change the world right in here. I want to show you just a couple of analogies. I did some research and was looking. You remember I showed you all the top 10 problems of the world last week. So I went and said, well, you know what? If there's a group that's working on all the top 10 problems, surely there's a group that's working on all the top 10 solutions. And so there is. And this is, I know somebody's going to fact check me. It's a group out of Copenhagen. And they brought scientists and economists and strategists from all over the world. And they take them about 2 years. They've done a couple of them at least. And they come back and they try to find all the solutions in the world, or they pick the top 10 solutions in the world that they want to solve. And so I looked at it, and for the top 2 out of 3, it was based on doing something with food. They want to put iron and vitamin A in food, because so many millions and millions of kids are without vitamins. And if they can just have vitamins, they wouldn't suffer with malnutrition, because one of the top 10 problems in the world is poverty. And so 2 of the top 3 solutions dealt with poverty. And then the second solution that they came up with was opening up free world trade. They figured that if we would just freely trade goods and services with one another, billions and billions of dollars would be generated all over the world. Now, one of the top 10 problems we had last week was global warming. Do you not know that that was the last one that they even tried to figure out? And you know why? They said because even if they spend billions and billions of dollars, the money that they would make back, see, it's all about the dollars, right? It's all about the dollars. That would be so nominal, it wouldn't be worth spending all of that money. But there I started to look. And I'm going to give you some choices here. But one of these 3, they said wasn't even worth trying to figure out. Now, here's the 3 I'm going to give you to choose from. Do you think it was religious conflict? Do you, and I'm going to call them all out, then I'll come back and you can vote, so think about it. Do you think it was a religious conflict that they didn't want to try to solve? Or do you think it was inequities between economy and education? Or do you think it was war and terrorism? So now vote. Do you think, how many of you thought it was religious conflict that they didn't even want to fool with? Okay, all right, good. How many of you think it was inequities, education and economy, okay? How many of you thought it was terrorism and war? That's it. They said, you know what? We don't even have a solution. And guess what? People from Homeland Security out of the United States was on that board. So this war on terrorism, they don't have a clue on how to solve it. Now watch this. I said we got enough right here in this room. Now watch this. I'm going to show you a couple of things. Just walk with me slowly here and just see this. Now, if each one of us were a disciple, I have to do a disclaimer here. All of you may not qualify in legitimately, but in theory, follow my theory here. If all of us in here were true disciples, if all of us were in here, I'm just going to use a round number and say that there's 300 of us in here. If all of us in here were true disciples, watch this, and I'm going to just use a really aggressive number. But let's say every week, each one of us made a disciple. So we got 300 now, right? So next week, our first week, we would have 300 more, right? The week after that, we would have 600. Oh, they done put all the numbers up. Don't put them all up. They done got my answer. Now I can't tell my dimmer math. Then you got 1,200, right? Then you got 2,400, right? Then you got 4,800, right? Then you got 9,600, right? Now they don't have this one up here. If you did it another week, you have 19,200 disciples in 7 weeks. Now watch this. Let's just deal with global warming. What if 19,000 people here in Concord decided, because they love the Lord, that they cared enough about the planet to go out and buy emission control cars? Is that one of the problems they think is global warming? Yeah, guess what would start to happen? It would go down. What would happen if 19,200 people in Concord, I know some of y'all got guns and bullets, and there are folks you want to shoot. You just trying to wait for the opportune time to make certain you can get away with it. If I just catch them, yeah. You start seeing your influence. Now I'm gonna back it all the way up. Watch this. If just 300 of us in here, just on an average median income, earns $30,000 a year, and we each just gave only 10%, we could raise $1.2 million just like that. Now, just think if we did that with 600 people, that's 2.4 million. Do you not know within a year or two, we could go over there and buy Barbara Scotia with cash? Who said we can't change the world? Who says we can't do something? But you got to be what? A fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ. Are there any here today? Stand on your feet if you will with me. So what's the solution to the world's problems? Go in your going, be a disciple, and make disciples. If each one would teach one, just right here, just starting right here. Jesus started with a motley 12. One of them defected. So he really only started with 11. And it's the largest religion of faith in the world. And he says we would do greater things. That's what he said. I thank you for your patience and time. But here's all I want you to remember. It's a simple song. It's an old hymn. And I want us to sing a little bit of it. I'm going to pray and then we're going to sing, because this is what God can do. Bow your heads with me.
Enjoy the message today. And just as we promised you earlier, I hope that it was allowed you to get connected to Christ and his community, where you can be radically changed for Christ, by Christ. Now, we would like for you to stay in touch with us. So please follow the web address on the bottom of the screen here. Go out to our website so you can connect more with us. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like what we're doing at First, support us financially. And you can also do that by hitting our giving link. We thank you so very much. And again, I'm Herb Redrick, Senior Pastor at First Missionary Baptist Church. When you're in the area, stop by and see us. Bye-bye.